Joining us to discuss all of this is Democratic Senator Michael Bennet from Colorado, one of the main negotiators on this, what was supposed to be a bipartisan agreement. So, Senator, I know that's a generalization of where the divisions are. Can you boil down what is holding up an agreement? You've yet to decide a lot of other things about Israel and Ukraine, but this is certainly front and center right now.
Well, I'm smiling, Andrea, because you described it as a bipartisan division, which I think that's a poetic phrase, if there ever was one, to describe what's going on in Congress. But, I mean, first of all, I don't believe we should be attaching, this border dispute to funding for Ukraine. The Ukrainian people, over the last 2 years, through their bravery and through what they have achieved, which is magnificent, pushing Putin out of half of the territory that he took, shutting down his Black Sea fleet so the rest of the world could get food, winning battle after battle after battle. Nobody would have imagined that. So this shouldn't be a difficult question for us, not just for the sake of the Ukrainians, but for the sake of democracy, for the sake of NATO. We need to fund this. Now, so that's part of the problem. I'd say second, there are some Republicans here who are saying, well, we know how important this is, so we're going to use this as an opportunity to exert leverage and come to a deal on the border. I believe our immigration system is in deep need of improvement, so I'm not interested in protecting the status quo. If we can get to an agreement that satisfies them, that's consistent with our commitment to the rule of law and our identity as a nation of immigrants, I'm for it. But I do think it's unfortunate they've injected this contingency into the negotiations. We cannot fail when it comes to Ukraine. So whether we get to a deal or not on the border, we have to find a bipartisan way through on Ukraine.
I mean, it's one thing to spend more money on the border. The president was agreeing with that in his supplemental proposal. But to try to resolve decades and decades of disagreements over fundamental border policy at the risk of not funding Israel and or Ukraine, that doesn't make sense, does it?
I think that doesn't make much sense. We shouldn't be doing it in the course of this negotiation. I was part of the Gang of Eight in 2013, working with John McCain and others to write the last immigration bill. It was bipartisan, passed this place with 68 votes. That's a massive bipartisan vote. Unfortunately, it was stopped. It was vetoed by the Freedom Caucus in the House. I mean, think about how different America would have been if we had passed that bipartisan bill, both in terms of the pathway to citizenship for the Dreamers, for the 11 million people that are undocumented, and for our border security, for that matter. What's changed in the intervening years is there's now a $1 billion enterprise by transnational gangs that are smuggling people to the border of the United States. That's not the Biden administration's fault. That's, something that's happening in the world. We have to come together to contend with that, and whether we get that done now in this negotiation, I don't think is all that likely, but this work will still be done for us on the back end of it.
And I just heard you're going to have a classified briefing, an all-Senate briefing on Tuesday on Ukraine, Israel, and all of this. Are there questions that you think can be answered to your satisfaction on Israel, for instance?
Well, I would say first on Ukraine that it's very clear to me that Ukraine has the receipts because of what they've done, what they've accomplished. And there is a lot on the line for the United States. There's a lot on the line for democracy here. I think with respect to Israel, look, we also saw together the video a few days ago of Hamas's attack on Israel. And I think everybody left that, I'm sure, seeing Hamas as a death cult, which they are. I mean, and the terrorism that they inflicted on Israel, it's not just their right, it's their obligation to respond to that. And we need to make sure that they do that, and Israel needs to make sure they do it in a way that saves as many civilian lives as possible, but that's made more difficult because Hamas is the one that's putting civilians in the line of fire in the Palestinian territory. So this is a difficult moment, in human affairs, but it's a time, I think, when the American people have to show up. I know you've been talking about Kissinger all morning. You think about the Vietnam War and how in the end there were a lot of really brilliant people that were hanging around these marble columns who thought that was a great idea. It was the American people that brought that to an end. You remember at the same time Richard Nixon violating his oath to the Constitution. It was the American people working through their elected representatives that brought that to an end and changed the way America approached its politics. I would argue that we're living at a time that's easily as important, as significant as that time, and this is a time when the American people need to show up and the politicians need to knock off their partisan games.